What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. In today's video, I would like to give my top 5 pass rushers for our Atlanta Falcons on my draft board. But if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content or NFL content. If you'd like to follow your boy on Twitter and Instagram, you can follow me at Jew Talk Sports. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can donate to my Cash App, which is the $ Jew Talk Sports. And if you'd like to be a part of my Jew Talk Sports membership, you can hit that join tab here on the channel as well. But with that being said, let's jump right into the video. So as I mentioned in today's video, I do want to give my top 5 pass rushers on my draft board for our Atlanta Falcons. Now keep in mind on this list, I'm basing it off of us having the number 15th pick. So I excluded Abdul Carter, the Penn State edge rusher, who I think is the #1 pass rusher in this draft. He's a freak athlete, similar to Micah Parsons, but I believe that he'll be a top 5 pick. So I excluded him from this list. But on my draft board for us picking at 15, I have the edge rusher out of Marshall, Mike Green, as the #1 player on my draft board for our Atlanta Falcons picking at 15. Mike Green did lead the collegiate ranks last year in sacks with about 17, I believe 17 and a half sacks last year at Marshall. To me, he's the most polished pass rusher in this draft. I do believe if the Falcons were to draft him, he could come in and have an immediate impact. He's about 6'5", 250 pounds to 255 pounds, but he can do it all, can stop the run, had a ton of tackles for loss last year, so he can do it all as a 3-down lineman. So he would be the guy at that number 15 spot. That's #1 on my board. The second pass rusher that I have on my list is going to be the edge rusher out of Tennessee, James Pierce Jr. He had about 7.5 sacks last year at Tennessee, but he's another guy that's about 6'4", 6'5", very rangy, can bend the edge. He mainly uses speed to rush the passer, but he's also a guy that's very athletic, can stop the run as well as a 3-down lineman. But I definitely think that he's another guy that can come in. He's pretty polished. He could come in and be a starter from day one. Now, third on my draft board on this list is going to be Donovan Esmeraku. He's the edge rusher out of Boston College. And he's another guy. All of these guys are around that 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" range. He's about 6'4", 6'5". Another guy that was really good as far as production. He had about 16.5 sacks at Boston College. And it seems that the Falcons have had success with drafting guys out of Boston College. We have Matt Ryan, who's a legend with our Atlanta Falcons. We drafted out of Boston College. We had Chris Lindstrom a couple years ago that we drafted as well, and he turned out to be an all-pro. So maybe the Falcons need to go back into that well there in Boston College and go and pick up a Donovan Esmeraku. He's a guy that kind of slipped under the radar because he played in the ACC, but he's another guy that can bend the edge, can do a really good job at stopping the run. He made a ton of tackles. I believe he had 21 tackles for loss last year at Boston College. But another guy that's very athletic, can do it all pretty much, has pass rush moves, uses spin moves, uses rip moves with his hands, but really good at bending the edge and things of that nature. So I can definitely see him being a guy because of his production and what he did in college. He's the third guy that's on my list for our Atlanta Falcons. And then fourth on my list for our Atlanta Falcons will be Mykel Williams, the defensive edge out of Georgia. He's another guy that has that frame, 6'5", 200. I believe he's around 270 pounds. So he's a little bit bigger than the other guys. He's kind of like a traditional defensive end. But I like his game as well. And I could see him being picked by our Falcons at 15 with his ability to, stop the run, his ability to set the edge. He's probably one of the best edge setters in this upcoming draft. Very good at using his hands as well. Very good at using power. He's one of the power rushers in this draft. You see a lot of speed rushers, but he's one of the guys in this draft that uses power to rush the passer. Made a ton of plays at Georgia. He did get injured last year, so he didn't play a whole lot last year due to his injury, but he does have that NFL frame. If you're looking for a traditional defensive end and a guy that can stop the run, that's his strengths. But he's also a guy that can rush the passer. I believe he had, if I'm not mistaken, about 6 sacks last year at Georgia. But he's another guy that I really feel like if he gets the opportunities, being that Georgia was so deep on their defensive line, he didn't play a whole lot. He had other guys like Jalen Walker and guys like that on his roster as well that they rotated in and out of the game. But Michael Walker, I can also see him possibly being an Atlanta Falcon, as well. Now, fifth on my list, I have two guys at that fifth spot. So Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M, he's another guy that I like a whole lot. He's not the most athletic guy, but he's another guy that's more of a defensive end type. Very big, 6'5", strong. Another guy that's strong as an ox. Another guy that's really good at setting the edge, stopping the run. A traditional three down lineman. But what makes him special is he can play with his hand in the dirt. He can also play in that 2-point stance. But he's really, really good as far as he had a lot of production both at Purdue and at Texas A&M. So I could definitely see him being a guy that the Falcons could fall in love with. And he's one of those players that the Falcons could possibly trade down and still be able to draft. But he's a guy that's moving up draft boards because of his film. If you go look at his tape, Nick Scorton was one of my favorite guys to watch on film because he had a rush plan. So he's one of the top pass rushers on my draft board. I have him at 5. And then I have basically him at 5A. And then at 5B, I have Jalen Walker, the edge, outside linebacker, inside linebacker, flex, a hybrid type guy that played at Georgia. He's a guy that I've been seeing mocked to the Carolina Panthers. But he is a guy that's similar to Caden Ellis that's currently on our team. Some compare him to Michael Parsons as well with his ability to play inside linebacker, his ability to play outside linebacker. But I have him 5 on my list because I really think that he's not the best at stopping the run, and he's not a traditional edge or a traditional outside linebacker. To me, he's a guy that's one of those flex players that's best if you use him all over the field. I'm not too sure how well he will play if he strictly has to play out on the edge because he's only 6'1", I believe, or 6'2", and he's only goes about 245 pounds. So he's not the biggest guy, but he makes up for it with his athleticism, his ability to make plays in the backfield. He was one of the leaders on that Georgia defense. So those are my top 5 guys or 6 guys that I have on my draft board. I'll be comfortable with the Falcons taking any of these guys in the first round. But you guys give me your thoughts on my list. You guys give me your thoughts on which player you would draft. Personally, I think that Mike Williams, I believe that Mike Green would be the guy that I think the Falcons are zeroing in on. But if for some reason, if he's not there, all of those guys that I mentioned, I think would be really good pass rushers for our Atlanta Falcons to try to help fix this pass rush. So with that being said, I have a lot more content coming for you guys. But as always, Falcons Nation, rise up, be blessed. Peace.